Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about, of course, Maryam Nawaz's return today, the way she was welcomed, what it means for the PMLN, what it means for the party, what it means for her opponents also, as far as the opposition is concerned. We'll also talk about, as far as the former Prime Minister Imran Khan is concerned and what he said today about Asif Ali Zardari, the allegations leveled. Of course, we've had a reaction also. What this means, and as far as the narrative of the PTI is concerned, is this latest in a spate of conspiracy theories according to the PMLN. We've also had the Prime Minister say Imran Niazi's baseless and dangerous allegations against former President Asif Ali Zardari are not only irresponsible, but also conform to a pattern of conspiracy theories meant to spread venom against his political opponents. Such nonsensical rhetoric is an attempt to remain politically relevant. The whole nation knows how he has used politics of hatred to divide the society for the sake of power. What, of course, the Prime Minister has categorically laid down what this latest accusation is meant for, what the PMLN sees it as. We'll be talking about the ramifications of this. We'll be talking about what legal recourse. Of course, we've also had the PPP say this, we've had the PDM say this, what it can mean for the future and what the effect of this on overall PTI's narrative is concerned. And how they look at it. Also, one of the main things, one of the very important things that Maryam Nawaz said was that the former Prime Minister, Mian Nawaz Sharif Saab, will soon be coming back to Pakistan. What this means, the confidence level as far as her own people are concerned, as far as her own PMLN workers are concerned, and what kind of a reshuffle, reorganization can we expect from her return? All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Sultan Shahryar from the PMLN. Thank you for being with us. Javed Jadoon, who is a senior journalist. Thank you for joining us, Javed Saab. And Barrister Safiullah Khoury, who is a political analyst and also he's a lawyer. Thank you so much for being with us. Sultan Saab, like I said, of course, Maryam Nawaz's return, she's also going to be the chief organizer. Do you expect a lot of changes within the PMLN in the next couple of weeks?
Thank you, MAHRUKH, for inviting me over. Yes, there are a few changes expected.
Okay.
And these things are being discussed and echoed within the party as well. So we might see some organizational changes, whether you talk about the organization of Punjab or if you go down till the district level, there are news that some changes will be taking place. And I think it's the need of the hour as well.
Okay.
I think we need to gear up and we need to bring, I would say, young blood or more motivated people. I think that's the need of the hour.
Do you think that your party has suffered, before I go to Javed Saab, do you think that your party has suffered from some lassitude, in the last couple of, months, one can say? Because, of course, as far as Maryam Nawaz is concerned, she had to be away for her health, because of her health issues. The former Prime Minister was not here. And, of course, as far as Shehbaz Sharif Saab is concerned, he has been very busy running the country. So, do you think that, that there has been some, perhaps, what can one say?
Yeah, the vacuum has been there. I mean, if you talk about the tier one or the topmost leadership, we have the likes of Mr. Khakan Abbasi or Khwaja Asif Hassan and Iqbal. These people were around. But still, the impact that Maryam Nawaz can have on the way she pulls the crowd. So we had been missing this aspect, especially in the absence of Mian Nawaz Sharif Saab. And if you, as you already mentioned, when someone's holding an office like Prime Minister, so you don't have the time to look after the party affairs. So we had been missing this thing, and we are really looking forward to all the things that will be coming up soon.
Do you think, of course, let me come back to you and we will talk about the challenges that she may face within your party also. Javed Saab, as far as the PMLN is concerned, we'll talk about what Maryam Nawaz's return means for the PMLN, but as far as this latest conspiracy theory is concerned that the former Prime Minister has spoken about, he's talked about, how do you look at this?
Thank you, MAHRUKH. I think conspiracy theories are abound in Pakistan, and I believe that without, having any proof, if it is not substantiated with the particular, well, the way you think about conspiracies, they all remain conspiracies. And Pakistani politics, Maruf, really can't afford that right now because there's so much division.
I think there's a problem with audio. I'm going to go to Barrister Safiullah. Safiullah, as far as legal recourse is concerned, let's start with a legal question for you. How practical is it? I mean, making this statement, expecting, do you think that it is being made with an expectation that, a rather desperate attempt to try to, perhaps fuel some kind of, fervor within his own followers? What's behind it?
Thank you, Mahrukh. And I think what Imran Khan continues to try and do is stay relevant by creating some controversy, constantly trying to do something so that people keep talking about him. Now, this was just one of those things that happened in a series of weird acquisitions that Imran Khan has made. Earlier, it was him blaming the United States for trying to take him down. He came up with this absurd theory that resulted in Pakistan losing face internationally. Then followed by that, he has had a series of absurd theories about people who have been trying to kill him. And it's quite funny watching his interview about how he talked about how there's a plan A, a plan B, and then a plan C. And for all he could go all the way to the letter Z, making up a list of all the people who would want to try and kill him and harm him. And that's all right. But what it does is, I think it sets a really bad tone. And unless this is taken seriously by the parties and they move legally under Section 499 and 500 of the PPC, they would continue to enable him, because otherwise he'll continue to keep saying that. So I feel like for former President Zardari, this is an excellent chance to move against him in a court of law, and so that he is at least to a degree muzzled and he doesn't go around saying whatever he wants to say against anyone without any evidence. He has done so to the detriment of Pakistan. He's continuing to do so. And now that he's going for these latest protests, he's once again making these protests, connecting these protests that he's doing against the inflation price hikes, connecting them to the desecration of the Qurans in Sweden. And this is what he does. Anything that happens anywhere in the world, he tries to stay relevant by connecting those things to his own person. And then he feels like he is now the representative of Islam. He feels like he's the representative of Pakistanis, of the youth, whatever have you. But the reality, Mahrukh, is very clear. I think he played his last card and he lost everything that we saw with the dissolution of the Punjab Assembly and the new caretaker government that came in. He's lost the plot. This is just a desperate attempt. I don't think there's anything to read into this any further. We can clearly see that.
Let me come back to you. I want to talk more about the relevant PPC sections also, and how you feel that it has to be done. Because, for this to perhaps end the spate of conspiracy theories. But I'm going to go to Javed Judoon Sahab. Ji, Javed Sahab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Ji, Javed Sahab, do you think it's also now losing, it's not resonating with his followers now? Because, of course, like Safiullah has also said, it is about trying to stay relevant. But, as far as the conspiracy theories are concerned, how many conspiracy theories are you going to give out over this period of time? Within this, nearly a year, we've seen, quite a number of conspiracy theories which don't seem to be backed. They're half-baked and they don't seem to be backed by anything concrete. And then what happens is that, they complete, there's a build-up and it completes, his followers, his social media campaign, it builds up and then it starts getting abusive and, and then that dies down and there's a new theory. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Maruf, in Pakistan, every political leader at the top level always thrived on conspiracy theories. Look at the 70s, 80s, and even beyond. So I think in Pakistani politics, it has become kind of a vogue that you go for conspiracy theories and then you get more support from your workers and supporters and the voters as well. So it has been quite a norm even as far as the PDM is concerned, look at the questions being raised about economy. Every government says that the previous government was responsible and so on and so forth. They can say that. Now, as far as Imran Khan is concerned, I mean, that really can't be supported, this idea. It is outrageous that you come out and you level allegations against a former president without having any proof. I don't think even many of his supporters would be willing to go for this conspiracy theory because it will only help in vitiating the atmosphere, the political atmosphere in Pakistan. It is kind of us against them right now. I mean, the two political camps are pitted against each other. It is not politics what is happening.
Do you agree,
Javed
Javed, do you agree with Barrister Safiullah's assessment when he says that, you know, it seems to be, as far as the dissolution of assemblies are concerned, it was one of those things, you know, which seems to have been...
Yes, MAHRUKH. Yes, I think in hindsight, he might have started realizing that dissolving the two assemblies was not really a good idea because he lost two important provinces and the kind of a support he had from the administration. He was sitting quite comfortably in Lahore. And now once that umbrella of the provincial governments is gone, I think he finds himself under tremendous pressure because what happened to Fawad Chaudhry, many of his leaders must be apprehensive that this could happen to them. Nobody supported that. No sane person could support what happened to Fawad Chaudhry. I think that speaks a lot about the kind of a pressure the former Prime Minister is facing right now. Even within his own political camp, the top leaders, they must be wondering that whether the decision to dissolve the two assemblies was right or wrong, because he miscalculated a lot. He believed that it would be a simple kind of a game. He will dissolve the assemblies and there would be a caretaker setup which would be neutral. All exemptions and elections would be held within the stipulated time period of 90 days. That doesn't seem to be happening, and that is really worrying for him. He feels himself under pressure and he's trying to come out of pressure, and probably it could be otherwise. I really can't see any other reason because he did not even mention how did he get the information which he was mentioning while speaking to the entire nation. There should have been some substantiation. There wasn't any, no proof, and not even quoting any sources. So I think I'll go to
Safiullah with you know, on the kind of checks that should exist, or you know, on making these kind of statements. But before that, I'll go to Sultan Sahib here. Sultan Sahib, overall, as far as the party is concerned, your own leadership is concerned, your own you know, narrative building is concerned, Maryam Nawaz was known for management as far as social media is concerned. Recently, like you also mentioned, perhaps, you know, because she was not here, because of her health issues, and the former Prime Minister has not been here, because of all of those multitude of factors, that itself is also something that you will see as far as building of narrative is concerned. And I think that worked to the PTI's advantage. But overall, do you think that over time, as far as dissolving assemblies is concerned, as far as going back into the national assemblies are concerned, time has favored you?
Well, if we talk about social media, I'll accept the fact and I'll admit it that we should have paid more attention to it as compared to what we paid in the past. But since Maryam Nawaz, she appeared on the scenario, she has been giving more attention and time to the social media, and we have seen improvement in that sector as well. And still, I think there's a large room that has to be filled. There's a lot of vacuum that has to be filled. And you know, if on the other side, if you look at our direct competitors, PTI, there's this impression that they are way ahead in social media, but the actual factor I would say is that they are, I'm sorry to say that they are more abusive, you know, and when that language comes into play, you know, they become more and more prominent, and they become more and more highlighted. So there is a difference, I'll admit that, but there isn't that much of the difference that is portrayed.
Do you think it's also because of, you know, as far as the former Prime Minister is concerned, like you said, there's a lot of polarization at this time in society. There is, you know, there according to the PMLN, it seems to have come from the PTI. As far as this polarization is concerned, you think that in this kind of an environment, to mobilize your voter, you know, in the background of what's happening at this time, will be a tough task?
Well, the conditions are alarming, and the whole society or the social structure, I think, we will have to, sit down and make a collective thought, if not strategy, in that terms. I mean, if you talk about polarization, I'll give you an example. I want, okay, let me say his name. Qasim Ali Shah. A lot of us, a lot of people follow him as a motivational speaker. He just said a couple of lines against the PTI chief, and the way his, the character assassination took place, even, so many people, they started saying different kind of things, even about his families and all that. There are so many people who, talk against PMLN on daily basis.
You're saying that you're not, you're
No,
a more tolerant
yeah,
party.
yeah,
The abuse hasn't.
Yeah, we don't promote that culture,
Okay.
And if you talk about PTI, I'm sorry to say, it runs down right from the top to bottom. You just say a word against them, and they turn into enemies.
Right. Let me go to Barrister Safiullah Ghori, and I'll come back to you. Ji, Safiullah, overall, you think that going after this latest conspiracy theory, the legal action against it, you think that this is something feasible, this is something practical as far as the PDM is concerned, or do you think, and also, do you think it's going to resonate with their voter at this time as far as the PTI is concerned?
So as far as PTI is concerned and their voters are concerned, I'm fairly certain that it will resonate, for the simple reason that they seem to buy into anything that he says. We have seen accusations that were far more unsubstantiated, with no proof of any sort, and PTI voters just drank it up as if it was holy gospel. So I'm not going to talk about the behavior of the PTI voters here, but I am concerned about the possible implications in case of any case that is filed. So former President Zardari right now has two options: either to take it under the Defamation Ordinance 2003, which is a civil case, or he could file a criminal defamation case under the Pakistan Penal Code, Section 499 and Section 500. Both of them have a different consequence. One is civil, one is criminal. If it were a civil case, he could win a high amount of damages. In a case of criminal defamation, which this is clearly a case of criminal defamation, this could result in Imran Khan even being arrested, because it is a criminal offense in that case. And I think that somebody has to take that step. Somebody needs to take that step so that this constant bullying by one political party stops, so that people understand that there are consequences of statements that are being made, and especially statements that are made by leaders as popular as Imran Khan is. This, whatever he says, has an impact on the psyche of people in Pakistan and outside of Pakistan. The fact that he's now saying this against a very popular leader of a political party, and saying this also after he lost elections in Sindh, is disappointing, right? This shows that Pakistan is not ready for another general elections. Because if general elections were to come around, then who knows, people would think of others as murderers, not as political opponents. They might actually start attacking each other and feeling that they are themselves under threat. And if PTI members feel that Imran Khan is not safe, then they might go against other leaders of other political parties. So turning Pakistan into a war zone where rules war over who is going to take over what amount of territory, it's throwing back into the Stone Ages. That's completely unacceptable.
Right, fair enough. Let me go to Sultan Sab. Sultan Sab, do you agree with what the overall assessment that Barrister Safiullah is talking about? As far as the PTI voter is concerned, as far as their reaction of the voter is concerned, the way that these conspiracy theories have been doled out.
Yeah, I agree to a very large extent, and earlier on, as my colleague was saying, I wonder what is it taking PPP, what is stopping them from going to the court of law, If you talk about any other civilized society or any other country where you have this democratic system, if someone makes such serious allegations, he should be taken to court straight away. I mean, you are adding up, you are just fueling the uncertainty and the chaos that we are already facing. And if you talk about the behavior, you know, it's a fact that everyone admits about the PTI. I mean, I have friends who have affiliation with PTI, but you know, that's why we use the word culture. You know, in specific cultures, specific things aren't considered bad. You know, they just accept it, and they have this state of denial where they don't understand. You know, they most of the time they just end up crossing limits when it comes to defending their chairman or defending their party.
Let me come back to you. Javed Sahab, yes, you know, I think Sultan Sahab is right. They do have, I mean, the limits have certainly grown, you know, have over time, pursuant to the PTI being in the political arena. But do you think that this kind of polarization, you know, this kind of the way that, you know, we've seen the statements that come out, then, you know, those statements, of course, the state has to function also. And I'll go to Barrister Saab also on this, but, you know, the state has to function. So at times, the state has to come down on the kind of incitement statements that, you know, that come out. Is he not cognizant himself also of how much pressure, how much expectation he has from his own people, his own followers, his own party workers also?
But MAHRUKH, I think, I believe that every political party is contributing in the confrontational mode right now in Pakistan. As I said, this is nothing new when we talk about the conspiracy theories being churned out against each other. Even what Barrister Safiullah was talking about, I'm not sure the former president will take the legal path, because in Pakistani politics, all have been doing that. Today it is Imran Khan, tomorrow it could be the former president, and so on and so forth. So if they start taking the legal course, the legal path, it will become problematic for all of them. So
but Javed Sahab, is it true? Do you think it's true when you say that? I mean, of course, you know, political parties and their leaders make statements. There's a lot of politicking. There's no denying that. But have all leaders crossed this kind of you know, this kind of bridge, or what can one call it, the limit here, the way that we are seeing the former Prime Minister cross?
MAHRUKH, but it is the choice of the former president whether he would like to go to the court of law or not.
Yeah.
And I don't think he will do that. Because there have been a talk of Imran Khan in collusion with the Pakistan Taliban in Pakistan. They used to call him Taliban Khan, etc. So it is a kind of a deja vu that every political leader says something to garner the support or to let the opponents down some way or the other. But I really can't comprehend why former Prime Minister said what he said. It is beyond my comprehension that all of a sudden he comes on the national television and says something so provocative, so outrageous that really can't even prove what he said. So I mean, to me, it is mind-boggling. I really can't understand. And the second part of your question, whether Mr. Zardari will go to the court of law, I don't think so. He will not do that. So I think it will die down in a couple of days or a week's time. There would be statements coming from Pakistan People's Party, and then matching statements coming from Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, further muddying the waters, the political waters, and increasing the level of confrontation in Pakistani politics. Nothing beyond that. I really don't think it is going
Let me go to Barrister Safiullah. I'll come back to you, Javed Sahab. Safiullah, do you think that that's true? Do you think that, you know, to anyone who is looking at the political arena at this time, things seem to be, you know, going from bad to worse in terms of the polarization, the abuse, the you know, to the point where even a normal person feels scared expressing a political opinion. I don't think I'm wrong in saying this.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Because I'll tell you, limits have been crossed. It's very clear that what Imran Khan said just now was crossing a limit, and I'll explain what that limit was.
Okay.
So earlier, people used to make allegations of somebody doing some sort of a criminal activity. A very common allegation was theft. A very common allegation was corruption. very common allegation was that, this person is responsible for kidnapping or for murders, like, allegations were made against Altaf Hussain. All right, so that's an allegation. That's a broad labeling someone. And you're a lawyer yourself, so you understand how this works. But when they get into the specifics of it, Imran Khan got into the specifics of it. He did not say Zardari is a murderer. He said Zardari, along with some powerful quarters, referring here to the establishment, along with them, has given money at such and such time and date to a terrorist outfit to go and kill me. He is pointing out the entire mechanism through which he is going to be murdered. So when he is getting into such details, that is no longer a wide statement. That is not the same as saying Zardari is corrupt. It's not the same as saying, oh, he has resulted in massive damage to the country. He's referring to an exact crime that can be traced down to the moment of where money was paid, exchanged hands, who the money was paid to, own terrorist organization, dealing with those terrorist organizations, which in itself is a crime. And he's attributing exact moments of crime to a person. When such exact allegations are made, they leave the realm of a general rhetoric statement and enter into the territory of law, where they become tribal offenses. This would happen in a court of law. Imran Khan would be called in and he would be asked, okay, fine, so please tell us, how do you know that he gave it to a terrorist organization? Which terrorist organization was it? When did you hear of this? How much money was given? Which other people were present there? So since he has built up an entire and exact story, and that exact stories have a lot of force, they convince people that Imran Khan is speaking the truth. If Imran Khan had simply said, oh, there's a plan to murder me, maybe nobody would think about it. But when he
which I think he said so on numerous occasions in the past also.
He has said it, exactly, and people have ignored it. But now he's talking about the exact methodology in which such murder would be done.
Yeah.
And that is shocking. So when
and that is actionable. That is actionable, right?
It is actionable. And so if they continue to, and he did this, by the way, earlier with the letter as well, where the supposedly when USA replaced him, but and so he speaks of exact actions that can be traced and that can then be easily countered as well. So I would honestly want, and I agree with Jadoon Saab that it's unlikely that any action would be taken. I think our political parties are extremely lethargic. All of them should be taking matters like these head on.
I think that's a question for Sultan Saab ji. Ji, Sultan Saab, why are you so lethargic in terms of, political parties generally? I know Barrister Safiullah said, but generally speaking, we've seen, going after these kind of statements, is it because you want there to be a political, answer to this? You want there to be, a tolerant, largely tolerant kind of political arena? Why is it?
That's a question, that we have asked the top or the leadership or the tier one, whenever such events take place, I think, as I said earlier, we should be knocking the court of law. And Pakistan is a country which has, more than one enemies. And if someone like Imran Khan, a personality like him, he makes such serious allegations, there's every opportunity, a third party taking advantage of that. And when especially when there are so many, external forces working against you. So, you're a lawyer, I'm not an expert in law, but I'm not sure whether it falls within the domain of suo motu or not. But these, such events should be taken seriously by the political parties. And if not, as I said earlier, I'm not an expert in law, but if it falls within the domain of suo motu, such action should be taken, because this is not a joke, I would say, especially when you are going through turbulent times, and this could just add up in the difficulties and hardships.
Let me go to Javed Sab. Javed Sab, yes, they can add to hardships. Yes, they are, they do contribute by large to an intolerant kind of, atmosphere. But do you think that there should be political solutions, generally speaking? There should be, there should be, of course, politicking is something that all parties should be allowed to do. But where do you draw the line? Those are the questions. Like Safiullah also said, he said, he's being very specific when he comes out with these conspiracy theories. But looking at overall PTI at this time, where do you think things are headed? The assemblies have been dissolved. If elections happen in the requisite time of 90-day period, with Mariam Nawaz's return, the former Prime Minister himself, Nawaz Sharif Saab, likely to return very soon, as she said specifically. How do you see things changing? Of course, this is all in the background of the challenges at this time that the government is dealing with, economic challenges primarily.
MAHRUKH, I think Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf feels that it is under a tremendous pressure, and the pressure is that they dissolved the most important assembly, provincial assembly of Punjab, and now the kind of a brunt they're feeling is really, the pressure is taking its toll, and there's apprehension in Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf that elections could be delayed. There is apprehension that the caretaker chief minister is not playing a fair game. He is the odds are sort of against Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and they believe that more leadership, more and more people could be taken to the court of law on one pretext or the other, and they could be put behind the bars as well. This is the kind of a pressure right now they're feeling, and I believe that it is not only important for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, but important for the other political parties, the ruling Pakistan Democratic Movement as well, because now is the time that they need to understand that if this confrontational politics continues, it would be kind of a tit for tat in the future as well, because today's government could be tomorrow's opposition, and today's opposition could become tomorrow's government. If we set healthy precedents, that is going to bring about normalcy and sanity in Pakistan. So I think equally important for the ruling alliance as well to set very healthy traditions, not to put kind of a pressure on Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf under which it cracks, and then the leadership makes irrational, illogical decisions as well. So in my personal opinion,
let me go to Safiullah. Safiullah, do you think it's isn't it true that if the PDM or the PMLN makes, gives a certain latitude to the PTI, it's seen as a sign of weakness, and of course two have to play this. The game has to be played at both ends, and there were statements made earlier to the former Prime Minister saying that his people should perhaps return. We saw also a delay in acceptance of resignations, but that didn't happen. And then the aggression, the antagonistic style of politics, the confrontational side of politics has been introduced into the very fabric of PTI.
Absolutely, MAHRUKH. I think, firstly, I'm very clear on the fact that it cannot be seen as a sign of weakness. It is a sign of weakness. It does show that they are unable to handle this, because the only victim of this is not PMLN or People's Party alone. The victim of all these conspiracy theories is the state of Pakistan. These parties are right now responsible for the upkeep and the safety and the security and the reputation of Pakistan. So if, let's say, a man says that a former prime minister says that a former president is trying to kill him, what kind of an impression does that give to the international community? Let's forget about what the president himself thinks about it, whether he wants to take it up or not. Let's think about an ordinary man sitting in Argentina, and if he was to read up on Pakistani politics and he sees that one prime minister is blaming another president for killing him or for attempting to hire terrorist groups to murder him, what would he think? What kind of a country would he think Pakistan is? And then no court action on top of that. What would they think?
Safiullah, what do you think the people? What do you think people looking outside Pakistan thought when they saw us talking about the Cypher conspiracy?
Of course, it's something that damaged Pakistan to no end, and we are still suffering the consequences. The very fact that today we have the lowest foreign reserves and no country is coming to help us the way we thought they would is evidence. of the fact that, because why do countries not want to help Pakistan like they did in the past? It's because no country trusts us. They don't know what we're going to do next. We are now seen as the wild cards, the idiots who cannot be controlled. And what have we done? So here's the question, right? Let's ask ourselves this question. What have we done about it? There was a cipher conspiracy. What did the state of Pakistan do? Did they take any legal action? Nothing. Let's say there was the murder of a person named Daniel Pearl in Pakistan. Did we take any action? No. Let's say there was an issue of the finding of Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. Did we take any action? No. Every single time we see these things, to date, even the people who murdered the former Prime Minister Benazir have not been caught. This
But Safiullah,
lapse
isn't
of
it,
rule of
let
law-
me, I think this is a question for Sultan Sahib. Ji, Sultan Sahib, why is there no action taken? Is it because you don't want to go that extra, you don't want a politics of victimization, you don't want politics of, coming down on your opponents in that way? Why?
And there are more than one reasons for that.
Okay.
First of all, if we also go down the same path, there won't be any difference in us and him or his political party, I would say. Especially when we know that they are paying a political price for that. People are discussing this thing, that there is a lack of tolerance and, the way they behave. So if we start, I mean, why would we do something which democracy doesn't support or which is not considered good in any sort of culture, So first of all that. Secondly, I think another reason for that is, if you start throwing stones at him, just like the way he does, we will be the ones. And
But
not
according to
only
Barrister Safiullah, he's saying it's not about throwing stones at him, it's about the fabric of our society, it's also about Pakistan, the state of Pakistan now.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Ji.
If we add up in that, or if we also fuel it up, that especially as Saifullah said earlier on,
Safiullah ji.
yes, Saifullah sahab earlier on said, we are already facing hard times when you talk about the foreign investments or the trust
So
of
you
the
don't want
international
it to have
community.
ramifications for
Yeah,
Pakistan,
yeah,
you're
we
saying.
don't.
Ji, Safiullah, but the fabric, the state, the concept of state and the loyalty to the state, all of that is something that one expects our politicians, certainly the former prime ministers, prime ministers of this country, to wear as a badge, even if they're not in office. It's something that, they have to, the loyalty to that. And I don't want to go down the path of questioning it, but when the state does come down on these kind of incitement or this kind of statements, then the question of liberty, the question of victimization, the question of humanity and the right to your own opinion, all of that comes in, and we've seen that recently. So where does the balance come then?
So I think the balance comes in, and the balance is defined in criminal law, right? At the end of the day, we have a very clear idea of what constitutes freedom of speech and what constitutes defamation, what constitutes lawful arrest and what constitutes kidnapping. So there are a variety of ways in which you can gauge whether the state is on the right path or on the wrong path. And I'm not going to say that the state has not been on the wrong path. But what I'm talking about right now is the fact that Pakistan is seen as a lawless state. And this policy of appeasement is increasing that opinion of the world of Pakistan being a lawless state. Like, for instance, right now, let's just say, once again, I want to take a step back and talk about this entire issue. What he has done is very clearly something that falls under the ambit of defamation. It is not freedom of speech. I cannot say, oh, MAHRUKH, you are involved in a drug ring, and then say, oh, this was my freedom of speech. This is not freedom of speech. This is me defaming someone. So if I defame, then I should be held guilty, and there should be some consequence to the words I've said. And if I am not being held responsible by the state, by the people who rule the state, because, oh, let's appease him, oh, what will be the difference between us and him, then it means the law has failed. It means that I have gotten away with violence and with the crime. And if criminals go unpunished, then there is no point. Because, MAHRUKH, the very point of a state is its constitution and its law. If we do not have law, if we do not have a constitution that makes us the state, then I don't know what we are doing here. What's the purpose of having just about anything? Why would we even have a country then?
Fair
if
enough.
we cannot follow its laws?
Right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sultan Shahryar Saab, thank you for joining us. Javed Jadoon Saab, thank you for being with us. Barrister Safiullah Ghori, thank you for your time. Overall, of course, where things are headed as far as the PMLN is concerned, we will see after Maryam Nawaz makes changes which are expected, her reorganization, her going to different districts, which she has said has already been planned. What kind of changes can we see in the next couple of weeks will determine the kind of fervor, the kind of direction in which the PMLN is headed. Of course, as far as the former Prime Minister Imran Khan is concerned, the recent allegations, it remains to be seen whether they will be, the parties will, the PDM, the PPP will be going to court on these allegations or not. But perhaps something to think about is, are these allegations losing the kind of effect that they're designed to have as far as the supporters are concerned, as far as the voters of the PTI are concerned? And perhaps that is something to think about. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.